Mm.
From Microbe TV. Oops, we got two people here.
What?
From Microbe TV, this is Office Hours for Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. Hi, everyone. I'm Vincent Racaniello, and welcome to your viral corner of the internet.
Nels is on here.
What do you mean?
There's a little thing that says Nels at the
yes.
bottom.
I just
Get rid of Nels. Nels is not here.
That's left over from
Yeah.
today's live stream. Okay, as you hear, joining me here tonight at the Incubator, Karen, welcome back.
Hello.
Karen with the voiceover voice, right?
Right.
Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you all again. Let's see who's moderating tonight.
Vanity Nutrition.
Vanity Nutrition, Steph SF.
Les Fabi.
Yeah, that's Les.
Tom Steinberg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Andrew.
Oh. Andrew.
Thank you all for joining us. Andrew's from New Zealand. That's the cool one. Really far away. Thanks for joining us. Oh, tonight, man. By the way, tell us where you're from. We'll go through that in a minute. I have to tell you, it's just awful here. It's been raining for 3 days. And tonight, what do you call it when it's really windy and rainy?
Can we call it that online?
Like a nor'easter?
Can we say that online?
No, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're thinking. Yes, I don't think we can say that. But here's the weird thing. Let me tell you what happened. I was teaching my class, for which I take the number 1 train up to 116th Street. Teach the class, then I take it back down here to get here in time for, actually tonight we did a 6:15, or what was it supposed to be? 6:15
clinical update.
Clinical update.
Yep.
The train stops at 96th Street. They say, that's it. We're not going any further. There's somebody injured downtown. We got to stop here. I come out at 96th Street. It is pouring like crazy. You know, umbrellas reversing left and right.
The cheap ones.
The cheap ones. Mine was okay.
Yeah.
They took shelter under an overhang of a building and called an Uber. It is just windy, and it's just, the umbrella doesn't help because it's coming sideways. So my pants are completely soaked.
And I told him, we have a blanket on the couch there. He could have wrapped it around himself.
No, I did not want to sit here and have Karen say, hey, folks, you know, Vincent's not wearing pants. No. So.
You don't trust me.
I do trust you, but I don't want to take my pants off. And I waited for an Uber. I got one. And then after 10 minutes, he canceled. And I got another one 15 minutes later. But this guy was an amazing driver. You know, the kind, you want to make a left turn off of the West Side Highway, and there's a big line of cars. He goes all the way to the front and cuts in front of everybody. Don't you hate those drivers, except when they're driving you?
Except when you're in the car, totally.
Oh, man, it was just great. And so I was only 15 minutes late for Daniel. But, you know, sometimes everything comes together at once. What is that called? A perfect storm of bad things, right?
Which is also a word that I can't say. Can I say it on the air?
No. I don't think you should say it. No,
I won't.
No, it refers to fecal matter in a colloquial way.
And as in a production of it.
Yeah, like a storm, a fecal matter storm.
Yes,
How's that?
Yes.
How about if we just say fecal storm?
It's just not as exciting.
Anyway, so I'm wet, but I'm happy because I'm here with all of you folks, and we're going to talk about. I have a little surprise for you. But first, let's find out where everybody is from. We know that Andrew is from New Zealand. There he is. Let's make sure everything works. I love the orange type against the purple background. Isn't that nice? You know, orange is the new black.
Wait, where is that happening?
Well, you should be able to see it on the stream. It just came up now.
Oh, okay. In a second, I'll see it.
I see it on.
Now there it is.
It's nice, the orange on purple, right?
Yes, that was a good show, too. Did you ever watch it? Orange is the New Black?
I never watched it.
About female inmates?
I didn't watch it.
I had a few friends on that.
Really? Actor friends?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Why weren't you on it?
I gave up a long time ago.
Vanity is here this is Long Island, as I said. Tom is here from Oregon. I know Abdul Aziz is from Saudi Arabia. Abdul was on today's 1 p.m. Tweevo live stream. Claire is from the UK. I know Les is from California. Here's a question about H5N1. We will talk about H5N1. Lucy is from British Columbia. Lori is from Tomball, Texas. Wayne is from Urbana, Illinois. Maureen is from Northeast Ohio. There's Dagfinn from Oslo, Norway. 2 a.m. You're so brave to be here at 2 a.m. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Spring has come to a halt, and we're expecting snow during the night. Yeah, well, we had some nice weather last week, and now it's been raining since Monday. Will is in China, where it's 16 C and drizzling.
Now, you know what I want to see at this stage of the game is, like, apparently all of our weather sucks. That's what it's looking like here on the live stream.
I bet when we get to California,
we're going to need somebody who has great weather to talk about it.
Okay, we'll see. Jeff is in Elgin. How do you say it? Elgin or Elgin?
Elgin.
Elgin, Illinois. John is in Minneapolis. Kip is trying to donate through YouTube, but no luck. Anybody else try donating? Is there anything going on that I should know about?
Should I try it right now?
To donate? You can't because you probably don't have it enabled.
I'm on YouTube, though.
Is there a donate button below the video window?
There's a save button.
No donate?
No?
No. I don't know what happened to it. I'll check it later. But you can go to Venmo in the meantime or microbe.tv/contribute.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see who else is here. So Steph is in San Francisco. My mouse is now jumping around.
I can get a super sticker or a super chat.
Super chat.
You want me to do that?
Well, it'll come up. You don't have a credit card in, so
you don't know if I have a credit card in.
I would assume you won't have a credit card in, but you can just try it and see if it works. Because maybe Kip's credit card isn't working or something. Let's see who else is here. Mr. Doreen is from Elgin, Illinois. Another Elgin. How interesting. Frank is from Santa Barbara. Nebby is from Central Florida. Let's see who else is here. Kathleen is at the Jersey Shore. Chris, I believe, is from Montreal. And MK is from Eastern Massachusetts. Ari Ozone is from Asheville. Are you leaving us?
I'm going to get a credit card.
She's going to get a credit. I don't want you to donate. Don't do that. Martha is from Charleston, South Carolina. Jessica's somewhere in Ohio, right? Spartavus is from the southern rainy coast of England. Here we go. Noir is in sunny Santa Fe.
Oh, it's sunny?
That's what Noir says. It's sunny in Santa Fe. It doesn't mean it's warm.
Wait, what time is it? How is it still sunny?
Well, it's 2 hours behind us, right?
Right.
So it's 6 p.m., which is
still sunny.
Reasonable.
That's impressive.
Jonathan is in Encinitas, California. Karen is in the house. Look at this. Yep, Karen is in the house. When I'm alone, Karen will usually be in the house. Here's a user called Karen's Playlist. Do you know who that is?
I don't, but do you know all Karens are supposed to know each other? So we should probably become friends.
Karen's Playlist is from Northern Maine.
Ah. Northern Maine. Is there anything? What's in Northern Maine?
Well, across the border is Canada.
I spent some time in Bangor, Maine for a while, but I don't think that's northern.
Bay is from Algeria. I remember Bay from this afternoon and from last week. Leslie is from Trinidad. Welcome. Trinidad. I don't know. Did we ever have a Trinidad person?
Listen, one of my best friends is from Trinidad and Tobago, but she always says Trinidad and Tobago. So as opposed to Trinidad.
Leslie says it's a well-welcomed rainy evening in Trini, which I assume is Trinidad.
Right.
But you know, here the rain is not welcome because it's been 3 days. Pete is from a wet London, and he's grumpy because my green garden waste wasn't collected, and they begin charging on April 1st. Oh, here we go. Carol is our favorite nephrologist. Sacramento, 68F. 20C. That's pretty good weather. Now I see people have given money here on the chat. It's working.
Oh, just after I give you $10. All of a sudden, you notice it's working after I put in my credit card and made sure it worked.
I told you not to give us money, but thank you. We'll give you something in return.
Like a job?
You have a job. I'll find something to give you. Anyway, happy birthday to your mom, 91. That's just great. Congratulations. Wonderful. Peter is in Boulder, Colorado. Yeah, blustery. N.Y. Cohen says blustery. You know, N.Y. Cohen has some connection with the New York theater industry. He offered to get me in behind the scenes at some theater. Does that still hold? Does that still hold, N.Y. Cohen? I didn't take him up because I don't usually call favors. You know?
But also you should do normal human things on occasion so you can make people think you're an actual human.
I'm not actually.
It makes you accessible. It makes you accessible.
Did you know I'm an AI?
I did not yet.
Laura is in Connecticut. I like your icon there, that little anime thing. That's cute. Cheryl is from Santa Rosa, California. Sam is from Nigeria. Oh, I think that's a first.
Is it?
As far as I remember, I could be wrong. Right?
Hey, Sam, here's the deal. We have to go to South Africa. And Vincent had the bright idea because he was invited to Frankfurt after South Africa. For us to go to Frankfurt after South Africa, but it takes a really, really long time. So I'm trying to convince Vincent that we should go to Nigeria and record a show after South Africa. So, Sam, if you have any ideas of a show that we can record in Nigeria, please let me know.
Eliza is in southern Ontario. Elizabeth is in West Virginia. Margot is from Phoenix. Patricia is Massachusetts. Oh, Steph, you like the lighting? Thank you. I just changed the colors this week, yeah. You know, I change them every week. It's cool. Elmog1 is from Pueblo, Colorado. 72. It's very nice there. It's a beautiful day. That's cool.
Okay, we've had no comments on your glasses yet.
Good. It's just early. In a nor'easter, you need a sou'wester, not an umbrella. Yeah, that's right. I like that very much. Hang on. Privyet. Sorry. Very Nika. Privyet. Notice how I roll the R. Privyet. I'm working on it.
That's very nice. My grandfather would be very impressed by your art roll.
Was he Russian or?
No, German. But also he said he'd disown me if I didn't learn how to roll my R's.
Privyet, but I have to learn more words, right? Moscow spring has finally started. Excellent. Bay said, we agreed that you will wear blue glasses. There you go.
Okay. Well, we're kind of just going to switch it up to torture people as far as I'm concerned. I think it's funnier if he follows his impulses and we see what happens.
This is very funny from John. Is driving a virology professor the fast and the furin, cleaving through traffic? Yeah, he was great. Oh, I didn't tip him. Let me tip him right now on the Uber. Thanks for reminding me. You know,
how much are you going to tip Vincent?
I'm going to give him 25%.
Oh,
because he was just.
But not just a percentage.
Well, you know what the trip was?
What?
$113.
No.
From 96th Street.
No.
Yes. This is rainstorm up pricing, right?
Wow. Okay, yes, 25% is nice. Thank you. It's when it's like, you know.
What is 25% of $113?
It's enough.
Yeah, but it doesn't, see, it's a custom amount.
Oh, it's a custom amount?
So I have to enter a dollar.
Okay, so like $30.
All right, so because, all right, we'll give him $30.
He only drove from 96, then what, West End?
96 and Broadway.
Yeah.
All right.
$30.
We're gonna tip $30 because he was a great driver. Thank you so much, Yafar. Thank you so much.
Most of my jobs before working for you have been tip-based employment, so I'm very anal.
All right. Thank you, John, for reminding me to tip my Uber driver. Can you imagine how much that cost? Oh, my gosh. But I had to do it because I was getting soaked and I had to get here, and the trains were not running. So what would be the alternative? I could have walked to the A train, but that's from Broadway to Central Park West. It's too far. Sorry. Martha, N.Y. Cohen is from White Plains, New York. And Martha's, the orange and purple are wonderful together. Yeah, I do like the orange on the purple. That's
wait just one moment, and someone will disagree.
You know.
Look.
I see. Robert is from Lafayette, Louisiana, and Noir said the orange is hard to read on a phone. I'm sorry, Noir.
I keep trying to tell Vincent that there's absolutely no way to please such a diverse collection of humanity.
Well, the reason I put orange here is that on a different background it was best. But also Steph says she doesn't like the orange.
Okay,
Sorry,
is
I
there
like
a way?
white.
Is there a way to do a drop shadow on it? Because sort of it's the pure color.
It's got,
right?
but I'm not going to deal with it now. I want
No, not now, but like down the road.
It's very easy to do drop shadow.
Okay.
I mean, I can do
it
it.
would probably make it simpler.
Jessica's from Toledo, Ohio. Thank you for clarifying that. Ariozone, your subway story, enduring several battles, first with the train, then with elements, is classic New York. Makes me a tad homesick.
Oh.
Well, you shouldn't have left. Come back. Andrew's waiting for someone from Perth, which would be the farthest possible from New York, right?
Now, isn't that where the people came on St. Patrick's Day from? Where were they from? Seriously.
They were from Darwin.
Okay.
I left. Can you do for me a favor? I left my water somewhere.
I would love to fetch you water.
I don't know where it is.
It would be my pleasure.
I don't want you to do things
No,
for me.
I
but
want to. It will make me happy.
I need some water because my throat is scratchy. It's 1 a.m. in Algeria. I'm also impressed that you're staying up to 1 a.m. to see this. I hope it's worthwhile. We are going to talk science. We just need to break a little ice here. Steph says the orange is the color of those yucky marshmallow peanuts. Yeah, it is. Oh, my God, Steph, you're now making me guilty that I have to change the color.
Oh, stop it.
It is. It does have a drop shadow. What color do we want for purple? Thank you. Would you like yellow?
Okay, just go white.
I put yellow up. Let's see if people like the yellow. Let's see.
I feel like it might be the solid color against the solid color that is traumatizing. So the yellow might be just as traumatizing, unless there's a drop shadow that would make it,
Weather's beautiful in Encinitas. There
Actually,
you go.
that is very pretty.
And Noir can't donate either. You were able to donate, right, Karen? Thank you for the water.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Phoenix is 82 and sunny, no wind, no humidity. That's pretty nice. Margot, I was in Phoenix in November. So were you, Karen.
Yes.
And what was the weather? It was crappy, wasn't it?
I've slept since then.
I forgot. Anyway, Margot, we went to a breakfast place called, Karen, you should say it because you remember,
What?
remember the breakfast place we went to?
Oh, okay. What's the word that
BB.
that you're allowed to say? What's the word you are allowed to say?
I can't say any words.
Okay, well, I know the word bitch was in it, but I can't remember the other word.
Breakfast bitch.
Breakfast bitch. You're allowed to say breakfast.
Well, you said I have to say it a certain way, otherwise it's not good.
You just were trying too hard.
Breakfast bitch, Margot. You ever been there? That was a lot of
It
fun.
was very nice. We quite enjoyed it.
Oh, and Andrew says in the rest of the world, the G in Elgin is hard, as in gust.
But not in Elgin, Illinois, right? Like, I've only known people from Elgin call it Elgin. I don't know what other people say.
In LA, it's 73 F. That's cool. Doreen says, it's good to have Karen back. A great team, as Forrest Gump would say. Brandon says, our weather in New Orleans is pretty good right now, 71 and no rain. Very Nika, please share all that rain you are having with Moscow. It's dry and so dusty, I sometimes wear my mask outside. Oh, you want to share that rain with Moscow because it's so dry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. Angry Penguin is from Toronto. Wayne says there's a $sign in a box icon in the YouTube chat.
Yes, that's where it is. That's where I did it from. So right under the chat section where it gives you a place to
I see.
chat ... There's
Thank
a
you.
$sign in the box.
Thank you, Wayne. I had the wrong place because I don't actually watch the YouTube version. I'm looking at my stream version, which is different. So here we go. John donated. Thank you so much, John. Testing for my weekly donation and everyone else. Thank you for your support of science communication. Elizabeth, thank you for your support of science communication.
So really, it looks like what we just need, like long-term future, is for somebody to have a hard time donating so that everybody tests it out.
I think that's a great. In fact, who said it originally?
I don't know.
John. Maybe John could be our shill.
Right, exactly.
And he can
that's
do it
genius.
every time. And Questella, thank you so much for your donation in support of science. And Kip, thank you so much. We love your Wednesday shows. Thank you. I love being with you. And every week I'm always amazed that all of you are here. So thank you so much for doing that. EHS Talent is in Pennsylvania. Donations are working. Very good. Karen. Oh, look, Karen Resistance. Thank you so much for
My pleasure.
Microbe TV rocks. It's still sunny in Kansas. Mike and that silent runner. Mike and Lori are in Seattle. Blue skies 53. Joseph is in Ontario, Canada. Costello, I don't understand this. My Google Opinion Awards is working again, and you can use that to build up a bit of change here and there and use that to donate. Oh, I see what you mean. So you got these Google Awards, so you're using that to donate. Thank you so much.
Oh, excellent.
So N.Y. Cohen still has friends at Broadway theaters. That's the guy I was telling you about. So, and Kip said he restarted his iPad, and that made it work.
Excellent. Always turn it off and turn it on when in doubt.
This is cute. Vincent is an AI, an accomplished instructor. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Oh.
I am not an actual artificial intelligence. Krishnan is from Malaysia. That's another first, I'm pretty sure. Come to Algeria in our Africa trip, right?
Oh, heck yeah. I had just I kind of had just looked at Nigeria and Kenya, specifically because they're places where, we had met people from when we were at other conferences. But everything is far from South Africa. So we might as well stay in Africa, right, Vincent?
Yeah, right. I'd like to come to many countries. I'd like to visit as many as possible. Well, we'll see. We're going to a lot this year. Carol, enjoyed my lecture on transformation and oncogenesis. This is premature because we're still finding out where people are from. But can mTOR play a role in transformation? Absolutely. mTOR is the second most frequently altered pathway after P53. Yeah, I love the transformation and oncogenesis lecture. I give it as a story, as a historical story with a lot of science in it, but I think it works really well that way. Vanity said it was the best privyet, because I roll the R's. It's not easy to roll those R's. Thank you, Doreen, for your support of science.
Okay, can I just tell Doreen my plan?
Communication for the solar eclipse?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, Doreen, I'm very excited about the solar eclipse, and my mother actually sent me a couple of the glasses that will allow me to stare at it without going blind. And at 1 o'clock on Monday, which is the 8th, that's a solar eclipse. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Vincent is recording a twin this week in
neuroscience.
Neuroscience. And hopefully it'll be done by 2, at which point I'm going to try to ask the people that run this building if we can go up to the roof. And before then, I'm going to go check and see if at 2:30 we have an eye line for it. And anyway, we're in New York City in the middle of freaking Manhattan. So it takes a minute to figure out where you will be able to see a 2:30 eclipse from.
I suspect they won't let you go to the roof, but you can try.
I can bat my eyelashes and we shall see.
I would ask Lubo.
Okay.
You know why?
Because he has keys to everything.
Yeah, I give him a nice tip at the holidays.
Oh, he's the one you tipped well. Excellent.
One of several. Anyway, Dagfin says Maladjets on the Privyet. Maladjets, what is that? Congrats, good job or something like that?
Do you want me to Google it?
Yeah, why don't you Google it?
Okay.
Tell me what it is. Kara is from Connecticut, where it's windy and rainy. What else? Who else is it looks good on your TV. Yeah, the colors. I can't do orange on these lights.
You can't what?
Oh, there is an orange actually. So
All right.
eventually, for the next one, we should put orange on one of these shelves. I think that would look really good, don't you? Even though Steph doesn't like the yucky orange, but
Okay, so Maladyets, you ready?
yeah,
Of course, it's Russian.
yes.
It can mean a fine fellow or a fine girl, but I think in this context, it means attaboy, attagirl.
Wow, interesting.
And it is gender neutral, so you can use it for either. These are the exciting
what's
things I learned
interesting
from
is
Google.
that was Dagfinn, who's from Norway, who knows a little bit of Russian. So
Clearly.
that's interesting. I'm going to be very close to Russia. I'm going to be in Helsinki in June. But I can't go to Russia, right? Americans can't go there now. I understand.
Well, I think perhaps we shouldn't.
I would like it to open up at one point.
Yeah,
because
but we had a basketball player teach us a lesson, and perhaps we should not right now.
Well, not right now, right? But
Yeah.
maybe in a future date it
Yeah.
would be good. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, the orange is like Halloween. That's what I thought. But I changed it to yellow. So tell me what you think about the yellow. Did you know that Karen's playlist says 2 or more Karens are a coven of Karens?
Yes. Coven or Coven?
Coven.
I sort of want as many people as possible to request a different color for the text, just so that this entire live stream is you changing the color of the text.
Well, Endroot says, welcome to This Week in Fonts and Graphic Design.
right.
Karen, if I did that, no one would come because they're here to listen to virology.
I know.
Right? So we have to
I just think it's funny how you always want to make everyone happy.
I do. Steph says yellow is better. Okay. But Noir says no. Aye, black drop shadow. Yellow is good. Ouch, yellow hurts. Yellow is readable. Just change the color every comment. Oh, yeah, sure.
That's what I think, right?
Every comment. Oh. Steph said yellow is perfect. So Steph is highly critical on style. So I think we're going to...
We're just going to go with whatever Steph wants. It makes things
highlighter yellow. What does highlighter mean?
The highlighter that you highlight things with.
I
just bought a whole bunch of different colors of highlighters. This is highlighter yellow.
You know, I can make different kinds of yellow.
Okay. How about...
Here's like I get that color picker from the thing, and I can do any kind of yellow
I feel like
want.
at some point when
But I
you
don't wanna do
learn
it
that
now.
everyone will never be happy with the same thing, that it will just burn out of you your efforts to make everyone happy.
I will never stop
You'll
trying
never.
to please everyone. Even though Abe Lincoln said you can't, I want to please everyone because a single displeased person bothers me. Although,
Do you know who else said that you can't please everyone?
who's that?
You don't know?
No.
No, I have to look it up because I can't remember.
Abdulaziz, it's 4 a.m. in Saudi Arabia. Oh my gosh. You were here for the 1 p.m. You are a night owl. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm sorry. It was Ricky Nelson. See, you should have known that.
No, I didn't
Isn't
know
he your
that.
time frame?
He is, but I didn't really pay any attention to him.
Garden Party. Do you know that song?
Tatiana. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
It's from Birmingham, Alabama. Are we doing anything special for the eclipse? No.
We're going up onto the roof.
Well, you are. I'm
I
doing
mean,
twin.
No, you're going with me.
No.
The only reason I'm going to try to get us up there is so that I can video you watching the eclipse.
Is it going to be after twin?
You said twin would probably not be more than an hour, right? Eclipse doesn't start till 2:30. It lasts for a couple of hours,
Oh,
and
okay,
at
you're right.
no point are we going to have an actually completed one. It's my Midwestern friends that are going to see the entire
Okay.
completed eclipse.
Jane is from Oklahoma. Yeah, I got a haircut. Yeah, didn't I have this last week? Yeah, I got it last Monday. So maybe you weren't here last week. Thank you. Your backdrop looks good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Abdul Aziz. Oh, you have a question embedded in your
That's brilliant.
thing.
Those are the ones you should always answer.
I think that also there was one from Kip before, but I skipped it over because I had a question.
Mhm.
But I'll do this. Can you get sick with 2 viruses at the same time? Yes, you can, and you can get a slightly different disease with the 2 viruses each doing their own thing, right? So you can have a disease that's different from each virus alone. Yep.
Isn't that like isn't there a thing where they say that, you could have multiple things at once, like doctors say that? Is it some
It's Daniel Griffin who says almost every week you can have more than one infection.
okay.
So if you have a respiratory infection and they test you for flu, it doesn't mean you don't have something else unless, they have to test for it to know.
Well, the one you skipped over was SF Pharm D. With repeat exposure to antigen, COVID vax or natural exposure, how is B and T cell memory affected? You see it? It's in green.
I see. I highlighted it.
Good for you.
Thank you, Kip, for your continuing support of science education. So, I think the best thing I can say is the guy who got 217 COVID vaccines in Germany recently, and they did a study on him, and he has no better antibody levels, slightly better than people who get 3 or 4 doses. He has the same breadth of antibodies. So it's only up to a certain point. It depends on the vaccine. But some vaccines, 1 is enough, typically attenuated vaccines, infectious attenuated vaccines. For other, you need 2. And for COVID, we needed 3 for that third one to increase the breadth to include some of the earlier variants. Yeah? So after a certain point, unless you change the vaccine, and that's needed, like a flu vaccine, you change it every year and you get it every year. If it's the same vaccine, then you don't need to get it over and over. No, it doesn't help anything. All right, let's see. Going back here, where was I? Anything else? Let's see if there's anyone else. So Jane is from Oklahoma. We got that. And very Nika said, maladits means well done. Thank you. Privyet. I'm just going to say the same word over and over because it's the only one I know. Oh, yes, orange and purple reads Halloween, but now it's yellow and purple. And next week I'll change the yellow background, okay?
Okay, but also, did you just see? I lost it. It was somebody saying that you should have people do like super donation things of a color request and change it every time that happens.
Okay, if you...
Who said that?
I didn't actually see
it was
that.
Elizabeth Parker. Have people super chat their favorite color and change it with each super chat.
If you donate and ask me for a color change, you tell me what color you want, and I will change it on your donation because it goes to Microbe TV. You understand that these donations go to Microbe TV, right? They don't go to me, right? Even though it's kind of my name is on the channel. It doesn't matter. The checking account is the Microbe TV checking account. So if you want the color change, you can donate. And I'm not going to say how much you need to. You don't have to donate anything above a certain amount. But yeah, that's cool. That's a good idea. Let's see. Anybody else? Dagfin, my Russian is very poor, but very Nika understood. Very good. Peter wants it plaid. I don't think that's an option. Be creative in other ways than the font color. All right, Noir, here's the thing. The white wasn't showing up recently because people's shirts were all like Daniel Griffin. That's it. When he was on this office hours, the font wasn't showing up on him. That was unacceptable. So I had to change it. And so that's why.
Also, so I'm not an idiot. I'm sorry. It's 4 minutes that the eclipse lasts in the path of totality. But it's over a course of several hours in different places. That's why I was thinking it was hours. But it starts, I think, at 2:30.
So this comment really bothers me.
Which one?
Be creative in other ways than the font color. Because it's true. You have to be. But it's kind of a chide at me, right?
Okay, except for, isn't that Noir?
Yeah, it's Noir.
Who is always snarky with you. So.
Okay. Okie dokie. Anyone else here? Let's see. Yes, so Crestella said 4 minutes also. Yes. Isn't there an eclipse phase in a viral infection? Yes. Does anyone want to tell me what the eclipse phase of a viral infection is? All right, I'll give you some time when I finish looking for anyone else. Veronica says you'll probably be denied entrance to Russia. I've heard this happen to Americans. I'm so tired of politicians keeping up that useless beef between our countries. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think all countries should be open to everyone else's. because it's fun to visit every country. I've never been to Russia. I really would like to visit. A lot of virology there and other good things, right? Okay. A man can have as many diseases as he damn well pleases, but Dr. Griffin usually skips the profanity. That's right. That's what he says. Here we go. Markle is on the windy and rainy east end of Long Island. It's roaring against my house. Okay, Noir, we're going to keep it white. Okay. I'm not going to highlight the comment, but I'll keep it white, yes. I think I should withdraw the offer of changing it to a tip. So let's not do that. Ian is asking a question. Okay. Andrew says the time when the virus is reproducing inside the cell. No, that's not right. It's a part of the time, but it's not just the time when the virus is reproducing in the cell. But I'll let someone else try and answer that, and we'll come back to that later. So let's now go back and answer. Wait, I want to do something else first. So, H5N1 is back in the news, right? Influenza H5N1. And I did a TWIV in Baltimore. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about H5N1. So I think you ought to go back and listen, because I asked the panelists, are you worried? And they all said not for people, but for other mammals, because it's killing sea lions off the coast of Peru or something like that, and other ocean mammals as well. So even though now it's spread more widely in aquatic migratory birds, because normally there's a season for bird migration, and it was always, the virus was present during the season, but then it didn't go over the next season. But now the difference is it's continuing to be transmitted all year round, and that's really different. And so as a consequence,
Was that,
it's affecting other species.
5 months ago?
More than that, I think.
Because this says bird flu in Baltimore this week.
Oh,
in
the
Virology.
Baltimore. That's it. Bird flu
Yeah.
in Baltimore. Yeah.
10:53.
Anyway, so 10 years ago, I gave a lecture. 10 years ago exactly on H5N1. And I found it this morning, but I didn't have a chance to look at it because it's been a crazy day. And the raining business took away the time I had allotted to look at it. So let's together look at this, and I will just talk. I won't go through all the slides because not all of them are relevant. But let's go through it. It'll be fun. So let me remember how I did this. We do a screen share, and did I do full screen? No, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Let's
I'm going to
see.
walk over to you.
I think it's not going to work. I have to wait till it shows. I have to wait. But last time I had it on that monitor, didn't I? Mm-hmm. I want to see if it shows up here on this thing, right? Because this is...
Yeah, because you need to pull it and drop it into your...
I mean,
into this, right?
But this is where the screen share happens, on this screen right here. See, this is basically it right here.
So blow it all the way up.
Oh, I did make it full screen, right? But now it's not showing up there. I don't know why. It's
it just... Yeah.
No, that's not going to work because the screen shares this
put
screen.
it there and then hit the green button. Don't make it full screen like that. There you go.
Like that?
Do that. Yeah, there you go. Now, see if you can go here.
Yeah.
And make that full screen.
Yeah.
Is there a full screen option?
Well, I can just drag it out
There you
here.
go.
And now the other thing I want to do is, so there it is from before. Oh, so it's good. It was actually working. I want to put my my image on top so people can see it. So let's put me. There we go. So now, actually, I think it was working with the other screen share, but let's do it the way you did it. Okay, so here it is. Look at the date on this. Spring 2014, 10 years ago. I think this is the last lecture of the course.
Okay, boss. It was working. You couldn't see it.
It was working with the full screen business?
Right now, I just saw your little icon go up. It's perfect. Never mind.
I think
We'll
it'll
look
be
at it
fine.
later.
All right, so let's see what we have here. We'll go through these slides. And look at this. The reason I was doing this lecture is because this was the year that there was a big kerfuffle over gain-of-function experiments with H5N1 influenza. And Paul Keim, a microbiologist, not a virologist, said, I can't think of another pathogenic organism that is as scary as this one. Well, this comment is nothing but unadulterated hype, which has no basis whatsoever. And that was the characteristic of this whole controversy. So let's see. Next slide is influenza virus. You all know what influenza virus looks like. An envelope virus with a negative strand RNA genome in 8 pieces. And the envelope has HA and NA proteins embedded into it. Okay? Now for some ecology. Avian influenza. It is the natural reservoir of avian influenza virus are birds, ducks, geese, swan, gulls, terns, shorebirds of all kinds. In these birds, the virus reproduces in the gastrointestinal epithelium and it's shed in feces. Look at this car covered with bird feces, and there could be avian influenza, right? It's a lot of stuff on that car.
It's a beautiful picture.
And birds flying over you can poop on you, and they can give you avian influenza. But you see this middle picture. We have ducks and shorebirds all transmitting virus to chickens and horses and dogs and humans and pigs and even seals and whales. So because they're flying all over the place. Anyway, there is some respiratory tract reproduction in birds, but it's mostly a gastrointestinal infection. And it's often asymptomatic in aquatic birds, except for H5N1, for which there is a highly pathogenic form. And I don't know what's next. Let's take a look. Oh, okay. This is great. You guys are going to learn all about avian flu. It is classified based on pathogenicity in chickens. So there's low path avian influenza virus, LPAI, mild respiratory disease, decreased egg production. Not great for farmers, but doesn't kill them. Then there's high path HPAI, which is H5 and H7. It's lethal. And the distinguishing feature are basic amino acids at the HA cleavage site. Now, you're saying, what the hell is that, Vincent? This red line is the hemagglutinin, which, if you remember, is one of the spike proteins in the envelope of the virus. It has to be cleaved by a protease. Cleave, in this sense, means cut. You know, virologists, biochemists use cleavage to talk about cutting a protein. But most people don't use cleavage for that definition. So it's cutting. Hey, what's in your mind? I'm not thinking that. It's cutting the protein right here. And normally the enzyme that cuts it is limited to the respiratory tract, so the virus doesn't get out of the tract. But the enzyme that cuts this basic amino acids at the cleavage site for high path avian influenza viruses is found everywhere. So that's why these viruses have higher virulence, because they can reproduce in outside of the respiratory tract. Right? So that's very important. All right, so what are the high path outbreaks that we've tracked? So 1959 was when we first started seeing them. So there was an outbreak in Scotland of 2 chicken pox. And then you can see 61, 63, 66 going through the 80s. And now here, a big one hits the U.S. in 1983 in Pennsylvania. 17 million birds are killed or culled, mostly chickens or turkeys. And you can see the numbers increasing here, thousands and thousands and thousands
And
of
this
birds.
is all in birds, not in humans, right?
Now, this is all in birds so far. And you see it goes through 97 here. All right. So seemingly more and more birds are getting infected. Now, 97 is a watershed year for avian influenza, because in the live bird markets in Hong Kong in 1997, there was an outbreak of H5N1 high path avian influenza viruses. And this virus was a reassortant. So now it's a slightly different H5N1 than we've seen so far. And here we saw the first human infections with H5N1, 1997. And the first time people have died of avian influenza. 6 died in this outbreak. And so they basically eliminated all the poultry in the market and surrounding areas, and that eliminated the spread. But lo and behold, a couple of years later, this virus, the same virus that caused this outbreak in Hong Kong, reappears in 2002 in January and begins to cause infections again. And waterfowl, then, wild birds, begin to succumb to high-path H5N1. The first one in wild bird was in a lake in China, 2005. It since has spread to over 60 countries. This is 10 years ago, remember, so much more now. And it's enzootic in poultry in many different countries, which means it's always there, and you're not going to get rid of it. And so how does this virus move? Well, migratory birds spread the virus, but we also move infected poultry unknowingly. And we spread the infection to Europe by transporting infected birds. And in some zoos, for example, a zoo in Thailand notoriously fed their cats infected chickens, and the big cats in the zoo got infected as well. It was unknowingly, but that's what happened.
Hey,
so, yeah.
Can I ask a non-scientist question?
Yeah.
Is this like something that all birds are susceptible to, or particularly like certain kinds of birds, like I don't know, like poultry, like ground birds more susceptible? Like, do penguins get it? You know what I'm saying?
Well, certainly poultry, chickens and turkeys and geese,
Right.
But many waterfowl get it, right? Ducks, seagulls, terns, that sort of thing. But
So pretty much any bird is susceptible.
I don't know about sparrows. Can sparrows get, can sparrows get H5N1?
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, so house sparrows are highly susceptible. So it may be that most birds are susceptible to this, yeah. Let's see if anybody is freaking out over this. Qinghai Lake is a migratory lake. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, that first lake, because the birds were migrating there.
Ah.
Anyway, in humans, here's the clinical course. Very aggressive, lower tract involvement, acute respiratory distress syndrome, right? This is typical of coronaviruses also. There are GI symptoms, diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal pain. And there's evidence that the virus spreads outside of the lung. That's systemic spread. There's no transmission among humans. It has not become a human virus. So every time there is a human infection, it's usually a dead end. And if there's another infection, it's another spillover from a bird or an infected animal. And the risk for avian influenza, if you slaughter birds, if you defeather them, handle them, or prepare poultry in any way, that's a risk factor for getting infection. Now, why is it of pandemic potential, which is why Paul Keim made that comment in the beginning? Because it's endemic in poultry, right? They have it all the time, and humans don't have any immunity. So that makes it of pandemic potential. Here's an old map of high-path H5N1 cases since 2003. This is as of 2014, right? So it's higher. You can see throughout the world. Some places more than others. But I think right now the number of cases is still below 1,000, and certainly the deaths are maybe 400 or 500 as well. And I think this is quantifying it as of, again, this is only 2014. So we have total cases 650 globally, okay, 650 and 386 deaths. Now, so that's a concerning number because it's a 50% lethality. And that's why people get scared about this virus. They say, oh my gosh, it kills half of its victims. But this is a virus that's a chicken virus, a bird virus. It's not yet a human virus. We have no idea what it will do in people. So relax.
Do you need more water? So what about
This is not so
like
interesting.
everybody keeps saying like it was a Texas dairy worker. Is that like a higher risk job?
Well, and recently several states have had dairy cows become infected, which is brand new.
Okay.
And so if you work with those dairy cows, you get infected. But the person in Texas has a mild infection.
Mm-hmm.
There's no risk of him dying. He's being treated with antivirals, and they work quite well. So here's the key. So I say H5N1 has a fear factor. Case fatality ratio, based on the numbers I gave you, 59%. That's the fear factor. The real mortality rate is likely much lower because we actually don't know how many H5 infections there are in humans. We only know the serious ones, the people who go to hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
There may be many more infections, in which case this 59% is wrong, right? So as of, remember, 2009 H1N1, the pandemic influenza virus, there were 12,000 deaths, 275,000 hospitalizations. That's a 4.5% hospitalization rate. And then the deaths over the number of cases, there were 60 million cases, a 0.02% fatality rate. So that, is much lower, and hence the fear factor. Okay, so that's avian influenza virus. Now, one more thing I wanted to talk about. Here's a paper that came out from Peter Palazzi's group, seroevidence for H5N1 influenza infections in humans. They searched through the literature, so they did a meta-analysis. See, the prevalence of H5 in humans has not been determined, which I just told you. And, the WHO number is fewer than 600. We hypothesize that the stringent criteria for confirmation of a human case does not account for a majority of infections, but rather the select few hospitalized cases that are more likely to be severe. Meta-analysis shows that 1 to 2% of more than 12,500 study participants from 20 studies have seroevidence for prior H5N1 infection. So the infection rate is much higher than we thought, and so the case fatality rate is lower. Let's see, what else can we do here? In a study of a Vietnamese household, they found anti-H5N1 antibodies in that household, and they also found antibodies in Bangladesh poultry workers who had never been sick. So more evidence for higher infection rates. So how much should we worry? This is 2014, and I think the numbers don't change this conclusion today. Remember, this is not the first H5 infection in the U.S. There was a couple of years ago a case in Colorado, right? I think it was a prison inmate who was culling chickens from a farm. So they put them to work doing that, that had an avian influenza virus outbreak. And so he got infected. But he was treated and he was okay. So it's endemic in poultry. There's this issue about the case fatality rate. It doesn't transmit among humans. Will it ever? Who knows? Nobody can predict.
So is it symptomatically similar to other viruses that we've been dealing with, more so since 2014 when these numbers came out?
No, it's sort of like COVID. It has this acute respiratory distress syndrome, severe
so we are
pneumonia.
More used to being sick since 2014.
Maybe.
I mean, our inclination to go get checked out is probably less. Now, that's just a theory, but it's entirely possible that we aren't like at the drop of a hat going and seeing what it is that's wrong with us as much because we're so much more used to being sick.
Could be. Anyway, it doesn't transmit. Only H1, H2, and N3 do this in humans. We can't predict if there's going to be a pandemic. We should be ready. I agree. We should have vaccines. We do have antivirals. And, it's always a matter of how much money is available to spend. There are other avian influenza viruses that don't make the news. In 1998-99, H9N2 went from birds to pigs and humans. 2003, there was an H7N7 outbreak in poultry in the Netherlands. 89 people got infected. 2004, 2 humans infected with H7N3. You can see lots of different influenza viruses in birds. It's the reservoir. Now, a little bit about the infection. The receptor for influenza viruses is a sugar called sialic acid, which is at the end of proteins. And the way this sugar is linked to the second protein determines whether it's bound by avian strains or by human strains. And the avians are alpha-2,3 linked and the humans are different. So what does that mean? Well, in our respiratory tract, the upper tract where viruses enter and infect you, the upper tract doesn't have much alpha-2,3 sialic acids. Where they appear in the trachea, the bronchi, the bronchioles, and the alveoli. All right, so that means these viruses have to get pretty deep into you before they infect you. They're not going to infect your nasopharynx, which is the way most respiratory viruses infect you. And so the idea is that if you have chickens in your house, which many poultry workers do, you sleep with them and you inhale deeply and you get the virus down here, and that's a problem. But the rest of us, with one exception, it's not going to infect your upper tract. And most of the replication of these viruses in humans, by the way, is in the lower tract. And it's very difficult to transmit a virus from the lower tract to another person because you just don't breathe out that deeply. But the upper tract, it's very easy to transmit because as you're speaking, coughing, sneezing, you're exhaling droplets which originate in the upper tract, and those have viruses in them. Now, there's one exception. That is the eye. The cornea and the conjunctiva of the eye have alpha-2,3-sialic acids. And there is a duct that takes tears from the eye to the nose. And so you could theoretically be infected in the eye with an H5N1, and it would then get into your respiratory tract via the duct. And in fact, in a poultry farm in the Netherlands, there was an outbreak of an avian influenza virus that started by eye infections. Okay, so that's the exception there. All right, so I'm going to stop there and
Yeah, go back and look at some of the questions for that last chunk there. Please.
yeah, I think that's enough for today. Let's stop sharing the screen, and we'll stop.
I mean, we did just have
Vinny.
and it could be the media, but EU warns of potential spread to humans due to lack of immune defense.
Yeah, well, that's what I found in 2014. That slide said the same thing,
Right.
but it hasn't.
Because they're anticipating a moment in which it will evolve to the place where mammals can infect other mammals.
They've been anticipating for 100 years,
Right.
or 50 years. That's my point.
Well, but it doesn't sell papers to say what
Well,
you're
then
saying,
you're exactly
Vincent.
right. So this is the thing. At which point should a newspaper or a news outlet start to scare people? It shouldn't until it's warranted. And these things have been going on for ages. The only thing different is it's in the U.S. now, so it gets more attention.
Right.
But it's been in many other countries. And so I don't think this attention is warranted. Yeah, it is a pandemic threat. We are ready. We have vaccines. We have antivirals. What else do you want us to do? Do you want us to live in fear every day of our lives? According to the newspapers, you should. You should pack up and go somewhere else. It's ridiculous.
Well, don't you think this is just compounded from COVID?
I tell
That
you, in
it is.
2014, it was just as bad.
Was it?
Because there was an incident that happened, which I didn't go into, that got the whole U.S. in a kerfuffle over H5N1. Yeah. And I'm sure it's worse now because of COVID, but it's always been bad with avian flu. And people make it sound worse than it is. They scare you, like Paul Keim, right?
But prior to COVID, the idea of a pandemic was so far removed from anything that we could conceive of. And now I think at any given moment,
Well, a
it's just gonna
serious
become
one,
easier.
I suppose,
Yeah.
because 2009, we had a pandemic with, what did I say, 60 million cases? What did I say there? Let's get this right, Vincent.
But was it outside the U.S.?
It was the whole world.
I was going to say, like, we only can see things in terms of the way in which they affect
60
us.
million
sadly.
cases in 2009 of H1N1. All right, so that was a pandemic, but at the time people were freaking out. I remember people saying, "When are you going to cover this on TWIV?" That's when we started covering big time. Okay, let's look at some questions here. All right, Kip already got his question answered. All right, here we go. Will, could an H5N1 variant be disastrous? All right, so right now it doesn't spread from human to human. Let's say it sustained some mutations that allowed it to spread. Okay, that could be a problem, right? It could be SARS-CoV-2 because we have no immunity, potentially highly pathogenic. Yeah, this could be a problem. However, these viruses have been circulating since 1959. Remember, I showed you that slide, the first outbreak in Scotland. Had a lot of time to do this. We've been watching them. Nothing has happened. In my opinion, the changes that would allow transmission among humans are they probably have too much of a hit on fitness of the virus. They reduce its replication too much, and it wouldn't be successful. That's my opinion. That's why we haven't seen it so far. But yeah, this could happen. But I will tell you one more thing. Some experiments were done. The question is, why doesn't it transmit among humans, and what changes would allow it to transmit? That experiment was done in ferrets. You can adapt H5N1 to transmit through the air among ferrets. So normally it doesn't, like it doesn't in humans, but you can make mutants that do transmit among ferrets. But guess what? They lose their virulence. They're no longer lethal uniformly in ferrets. They're not lethal. They just make them sick. So, you should never assume that the changes needed for transmission are going to maintain the high level of virulence that you see in a natural species like birds, right? That's why I'm not particularly worried. But I'm not burying my head in the sand. I think we should keep an eye on it. We should be ready, and I think that we are. We're more ready than we were for SARS-CoV-2. So it depends, Will, on what the variant is. We'll see. The next pandemic will be a flu pandemic, but which version? I don't think it's going to be an H5. I think it's going to be one of the other garden variety influenza viruses. Like H2N2, we're due for that. That stopped circulating in 1968. It went from 57 to 68, H2N2. We haven't seen that for many years. A lot of people now are immunologically naive to H2N2. So I think that's the next one. I bet it's in some bird somewhere, and it's ready to come back. Frank says, any idea why states might want to ban mRNA vaccines in cattle? The only thing I can think of is that they don't want to get into the food chain, mRNA, right, into milk or meat, which is completely absurd, right? Because for gosh sakes, you drink milk, you're getting cow DNA in the milk. There's a ton of cow DNA in milk. You eat steak, you're getting a ton of cow DNA in your steak. So the little bit of mRNA from the cow vaccine that you're going to eat is insignificant. But these are just people that I don't know what to say. They're just over worrying, or they don't want any mRNA vaccines to be used. I don't get it.
I think the concern is that we don't have enough information to know the potential impacts.
What
on
information would you like?
I don't know. I don't really care. I'm gonna drink the milk regardless of what they're doing with the cows. But a lot of the objections that I hear have to do with, if there's like modified mRNA, vaccines for cows, then it's present in animal milk, and we just haven't done studies to see how that, affects our health down the road. It's the same with anything in which we start to adapt things for the food that we're eating to make things simpler or easier or whatever. But people are often concerned about us not knowing long-term ramifications because we as human beings are not excellent at actually making plans
for
the future.
When you make things in an emergency, it's hard to get long-term effects. Right, so we made the COVID vaccines in a year because people were dying left and right.
Well, because it was the lesser of two evils.
And yes,
right.
Absolutely the lesser of two evils. And now, we know there's some rare side effects, but for the most part, they're fine. Mm-hmm. And it was validated by that initial study. So I can't conceive of a problem. There would be minuscule amounts of mRNA from a cow vaccine getting into people. It's likely not even to be there. I mean, if you wait a month or two after vaccination, and I'm sure they're waiting longer because the cows have to get bigger, it's not going to be an issue. So it's a non-issue.
Even if it's every cow all the time with people who you can't trust to not give their cows a whole bunch. I don't know. What about that guy?
I don't mind.
That guy who got 300
217,
yes.
Yeah. But
what if he owned a whole bunch of cows and he decided to give them each 217?
Yeah, well, Mandrake says, I assume the issue is that it kind of touches the whole GMO farm animal debate. And I think that's part of it.
Exactly.
I think that's part of it, too. And I mean, I don't have any issue with GMO anything. I don't see any problems with it, but it's banned left and right because people don't understand it. Let's see, another question here. There are plenty. MK says, I think Tennessee just banned vaccines in lettuce. I don't know about that. Do you know anything?
Tennessee?
Yeah. Can you Google it?
I am looking for it right now.
Vaccines, lettuce. a bill that would classify as a drug certain foods with vaccine materials added to them was passed by the Tennessee Senate. Now awaits the governor's signature. Research on putting immunity boosters into lettuce. Vaccine lettuce. Oh my gosh. I want to know what they would put.
So
in
they want to
this lettuce.
classify it as a drug.
But what are they putting it into it? Oh, compounds intended to stimulate the production of antibodies and provide immunity. So it would be an antigen in your lettuce.
So really, this is a broader thing. The bill itself is about classifying any food that contains a vaccine or vaccine material as a drug under Tennessee law. Yeah?
That's right.
Fascinating. But they're not concerned about other drugs that are put into our food. They're only concerned about ones that sound like the word vaccine.
I'm sure they're concerned about everything in your food, right? They're concerned about all
No. A
kinds
lot of the same people who have issues with vaccinations are not concerned about the ways in which,
Yeah. All right.
we're messing with stuff.
Let's find another one. Here we go. Right. If an adult who was vaccinated as a child is exposed to measles, can they get asymptomatic infection? Could their immune memory be erased? Well, we don't know, right? Because nobody has done the trial or the study in this population. In other words, someone who is vaccinated as a child and then gets measles or is exposed to measles as an adult. My speculation would be that the vaccine is durable. It lasts many years, and so you would still be protected, and you would probably not have extensive viral reproduction, so you would not get severe disease, and I think that would be unlikely to erase immune memory. But we don't know until we have a population of adults who are, and you need two populations. You need unvaccinated and vaccinated adults who then got measles, 40 years later, and then you see how they're doing. But I suspect it's not going to be an issue. Yeah. So thoughts on the H5N1 news out of Texas. So a couple of states have recently reported that cows have been infected with avian H5N1. So this is not surprising because more birds are infected. So more animals, so more terrestrial animals are going to be infected. The cows don't die. They don't get terribly sick. They make less milk. And, of course, you don't want people to drink that milk, although pasteurization does inactivate viral infectivity. This was actually asked some time ago on the live stream, and yeah, that will inactivate it. But they probably won't sell milk from an H5N1 positive cow, but they will recover and should be healthy cows. So in Texas, this individual acquired infection from a cow. That person is healthy. They have a mild infection. They're being treated with an antiviral. They sequenced the virus from the human and from the cow and compared it to avian H5N1s that circulate. And it's clearly a bird virus. It has only one change that would enhance reproduction in mammals. But all the other changes that you would expect to see are not present. So the fact that it's in a cow, that it's in a human, is simply another spillover like we've been seeing for 50 years from a bird to a cow to a human. And so passing through the cow didn't make it any more adapted to humans. In other words, it's still a bird virus, and it's not going anywhere from that human. It did go from the cow to the human, which is interesting. But, people who milk cows, they get close to them. And so that's what happens with the poultry workers. Sometimes in a family, you will have a poultry worker infected by chickens living there, and then that person can transmit it to others because they're all living together. But it never goes beyond that. So this is not really surprising. And again, the sequence doesn't say that. It tells you that there are no changes that you would expect to see to get transmission. So as I said, that's not concerning at all. It's just an incidental infection. So those are my thoughts. And we'll probably see more of them. We haven't had many.
We'll see more of your thoughts?
No, you will see more of my thoughts, but we'll see more human H5 infections in the U.S. as more and more animals get infected, right? Let me just check.
Hey, do me a favor. Scroll down to Brian Lego's second
Brian Lego.
Big, bright yellow. Because he asked the question once, and then he gave you $10 more to answer the question. So I feel like you should jump on that.
Is it all the way down?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like to be bribed, but...
Oh, but it's a good kind of bribing. It says anti-vaxxers say, why bother getting vaxxed if it doesn't keep you from spreading COVID, asymptomatically or not? How can we respond to that if they don't care about the hospitalization severity issue? At this stage of the game, what is our argument? Or should we even care, I guess?
Well, this is a non-argument, right? Because, well, first of all, anti-vaxxers are wrong. They're wrong about everything. Nothing they say is right. But
do we need to convince them, I guess, is the real question.
I think you can't, because they're dead set against getting vaccinated, and they will just go through the litany of excuses not to. If you debunk one, they will move to the next one. And then the last one is you're a pharmaceutical company shill. You're taking money. All right, so let's address this.
So do we care anymore if they get vaccinated or not?
Yeah, I do care. I think everyone needs to get vaccinated, because the more people who are vaccinated, the less virus is going to be around, right?
Okay.
Now, vaccination does not prevent infection. It prevents severe disease. It never has prevented infection. So to say that COVID vaccines are faulty because they don't prevent infection is just a non-argument, because no vaccine does that.
Well, many of them don't want to get any vaccine. So then the real question becomes, what is the thing that you say to them that we care about, right?
Well,
is it they have to care about people outside of themselves? And if
that's a
so,
good
what
question.
what is that story?
Yeah, because according to Brian,
How do we say it?
Brian says they don't care about the hospitalization severity issue.
For themselves.
That's remarkable, isn't it?
No, it's real. Brian is right.
Well, look, kids are now not being vaccinated against measles, and therefore measles virus is spreading throughout the U.S. Now, I have 97 cases so far this year of measles in the U.S. And so if we were all vaccinated, that wouldn't happen. And it happens because vaccination reduces the amount of virus that you're excreting, and it reduces transmission. It doesn't eliminate it, but it reduces it. It has an impact on total disease. So when everyone is vaccinated, or over 90% of people are vaccinated against MMR in the U.S., we don't see any cases.
So the argument then becomes, if enough of us were to get vaccinated, it would reduce the amount of the virus that is excreted, and therefore there would be fewer people at risk whether they were vaccinated or not.
That's right. But I don't know if that would work.
Well, probably wouldn't. But we need something to say, because we can't just go, okay.
Well,
Great,
I agree
thanks.
that okay is not a good thing. Yeah, yeah. I agree with that. All right, where was I?
All the way in the beginning.
Oh, yes, we were all the way in the beginning. Karen, let's see here. I don't love the orange, Subway. Really all the way in the beginning. All right, I'm going to just...
Start at the bottom and go backwards.
Well, but new ones are added to the bottom, so
I know.
that doesn't help.
All right.
Here's the one I was on, Lori. And, N.Y. Cohen asked about thoughts on the H5 out of Texas. Okay, so now we can go from that. We're talking about colors and fonts for a while. That's okay. There is another question here. There are many questions.
There's a good chunk there near the end that's all about what you were already talking about.
All right, so we acknowledged all these contributions, that Karen Resistance is there. Kip restarted his iPad. Oh, Pete says an interesting snippet on avian flu came up on the podcast Science in Action about the ANP32 protein bird-human variation. Yeah, so this is a protein that is important for avian influenza viruses reproducing in humans. They actually talked about it on a TWIV a couple of years ago with Andy Mealy, who works on it. So there's a amino acid change in the viral polymerase that's important for adaptation to human cells. And the way it works is it interacts with this cell protein AMP32. And so the bird and the human proteins are different, because in birds, the virus has the right sequence to reproduce there and interact with that protein, but it has to change to infect people. And so that change is one of the changes that you would see H5 on the way to becoming a mammalian virus. Now, that change is present in the cow in Texas and in the person who is infected by the cow. But it's only one of many that you need in order to become a mammalian virus. So it's likely that was, I don't know if the cow was the first mammal to be infected with that particular virus, but if it were, that maybe came up in the cow in replication and then it appeared in humans as well. And so this is it, yeah. Avian ANP32A incorporated in avian influenza virions promotes interspecies transmission by priming early replication in mammals. So apparently it's also, that's interesting. That's 2024. It's also in particles, and it primes early replication. That's very interesting. I like that. I have to consider doing that for TWIV. Yeah. Very cool. Thank you very much. Leslie wants to know, how long does it take to develop antibodies after 2 doses of varicella zoster vaccine? Is it possible not to develop antibodies months after? No, it's likely you should already have antibodies months after vaccination, right? I would say month maximum you should have antibodies. So if you don't, months later, something is wrong. Either it's not everybody responds to vaccines identically. And so, in a population, in a diverse population, you're going to get non-responders all the way to very good responders. Yeah. Vincent, how do you feel about the WHO promoting formation of polio essential facilities to continue basic research? I don't think you need PEFs, which is what they're called, polio essential facilities. I think polio virus should be worked on wherever you want, because to become a PEF is not easy. It's hard. And most places don't want to bother to go through the rigmarole of doing it. And one of the things is you have to explain, why do you want to be a PEF? And, that's not the way science works. I want to do experiments. So
you can't set up a PEF in your garage?
No, you can't do that. You have to already be a lab, and then you have to have additional facilities to be a PEF. My point is, poliovirus is everywhere. It's in sewage. It's in people. Why do we have to contain it in a laboratory, especially if the people in the lab most likely are infected also? It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, so you're saying that in order to play around with polio, you have to have some kind of accreditation?
Yes, you have to have a special lab, a PEF.
Even though you could dig through any sewage and be around any human and have access to it.
Exactly. That's my point.
Awesome.
Yes. And the same goes for SARS-CoV-2, right? At the beginning of the pandemic, very few people had it. So it made sense in labs to do it under high containment, which is BSL-3. But now that it's everywhere, what is the point? We have vaccines, we have antivirals. Most people have been infected multiple times. Why do we have to have containment? And the WHO finally realized this and lowered the containment to BSL-2 for SARS-CoV-2 work. This idea of a PEF for polio is absurd.
That's fascinating.
It does not have to happen, in my opinion. This week in typography. Now, John likes seeing everyone's location. I do too. That's why I do it. I like to see where everyone's from. And we get new people every week. This is very cool. We had Nigeria today, Trinidad, Malaysia. These stand out because I've never seen them before. Very cool. Chelating substances was used in viral infection. How did we know how it works? So a chelator will grab an ion of some kind. So they're calcium chelators and they're magnesium chelators. And there's zinc chelators. And so for different viruses, chelation like that in cells in culture in the laboratory can inhibit reproduction. And in some cases, the metal or the ion that's being chelated is needed for an enzyme, a viral enzyme that is needed to reproduce. So many proteases need a zinc. And if you chelate zinc, it inhibits that. But for many, we don't know the mechanism of action either. So Famida, H5N1 in cows, I believe I've commented on that, but thank you for asking that. Angry Penguin says 2 weeks ago, a gene-edited pig kidney was transplanted into a human.
Uh-huh.
The article I read said gene editing also removed viruses from the kidney, but provided no details. Any ideas on
Now,
what they
where
did?
was this from? That one that was done.
I don't know.
Because I've told you, like, when I got rid of a kidney once some years ago, and this was like 10 years ago, and at Indiana University, they were actually, making cloned pigs in order to grow kidneys.
That's right. But
And
now, so pigs have pervs.
Okay.
Do you know what a perv is?
I do, but I'm pretty sure that's not what you're talking about.
No, that's not what I'm talking
Okay,
about.
sorry.
Do you
Go ahead.
remember in Quebec City, I asked the
I was
piano
going to say, because...
what a perv was?
Yes.
I asked Frank. A perv is a porcine endogenous retrovirus. So all of us in our DNA have integrated retroviral genes from previous infections, and so do pigs. They have about 60 of them. And the concern is, if you transplant a pig organ into a human, now you immunosuppress the human so it doesn't reject the pig organ.
Mm-hmm.
Now those pig viruses are going to start to reproduce because there's no immune response anymore, and they may kill you. So what they did was to knock out all the pervs in pigs using CRISPR, and now they have these special pigs that don't have pervs, and that's what they used to give this guy a kidney.
And where were we when we were working? God, I want to say, was it TWIM? Was it TWIV? Where there was the woman that was actually in transplant. Oh, who was it?
Is that one of our shows, you mean?
Yes.
It wasn't
that was
South?
on the panel. Nope. It had,
Oh, it was on the panel?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't remember. You'd think I'd remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Angry Penguin, that's what they put in. They put in a kidney from one of these pigs, which are raised in special clean facilities, right? And they check them for all kinds of viruses and so forth. And hopefully that works. I did hear a talk at a meeting in Milan last year where they had transplanted a heart into a human from one of these pervless pigs. And eventually the guy died of rejection of the heart. But before he died, they had found that he had acquired a cytomegalovirus infection from the pig. So they checked the pigs by PCR to make sure there are no viral sequences in the tissues. But the CMV, the cytomegalovirus, was below the limit of detection. So they didn't know it was there. And then when they put it into the immunosuppressed human, it reproduced. But that didn't kill him. It was just rejection of the heart. But you can see how tough all these issues are, right?
Okay, so like today, the 62-year-old Massachusetts man who received the world's first successful transplant of a genetically edited pig kidney was discharged from a Boston hospital.
Very good. Good
That's
for him.
awesome.
That's great. Because now we can make lots of pigs. And, kidney donors in humans are hard to find, so this is good.
Mm.
GSD Bio, Jonathan, says H5N1 messaging in 6 words, the risk to humans is low. So I would agree with that. At this moment, it's low. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. So Margot has not tried breakfast bitch.
Oh, definitely go, Margot.
Yeah, it was pretty nice weather in November, but it rained. It was okay.
And the food was great, wasn't it? We really enjoyed it. Plus,
We went
they've
to
got
that-
swag. We didn't get a mug, did we? We needed to get a mug that said breakfast bitch on it.
We did. We bought one. It's in the kitchen.
And the staff walks up and calls everybody a bitch.
If you want
It's
to get
nice.
it, I can show it to them.
Hmm?
Do you want to get it?
Oh, sure.
It's in the
get
cabinet
it?
in the kitchen. It's the second time I'm asking you to do something. I'm sorry.
Oh, I like the fetch thing. Makes me feel valuable.
Some EMS agencies from en route use antibiotics pre-hospital for presumed bacterial sepsis. Do you think there will ever be a place for pre-hospital antiviral drugs? My gut says no, but maybe I'm missing something. I think it's funny that you say your gut says no, because a lot of viruses are there.
Rosie the Riveter.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is the mug that we got in Breakfast Bitch in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, Rosie the Riveter. Isn't that a cool one? Karen said, we have to buy one of those, Vincent. Here it is. It's nice. Thank you.
And now we just need a coffee maker.
We're working on it. Do you drink coffee?
I do.
All right. Well, I wouldn't drink any during the day, but I'm sure other people would like it. Patricia wants to know if Robin Quivers is co-hosting to Vincent's Howard Stern tonight. Yeah, that's kind of the idea. Anyway, will there be a pre-antiviral? Well, we don't have any approved broad spectrum antivirals, right? Although there are a couple that are broad spectrum experimentally. They're broad spectrum DNA and RNA antivirals. But nothing has been approved yet. So it would need to be broad spectrum because you don't know what you're going to clear, right? All of our antivirals are currently targeted to specific viruses, right? So we have HIV antivirals, we have SARS-CoV-2 antivirals. So those are for acute infections or persistent infections that we want to get rid of. I don't know why they would do that, for a surgical patient. If we had an antiviral that would cure HIV latency, yeah, all the people who are infected would be taking it, so you wouldn't need to do it pre-hospital, although I can imagine some cases where people are not treated, so you might want to do that. But we don't. Same would be for Hep B, because in some cases that would exacerbate post-surgical complications, right? So it seems to me that would be good, but I don't know if it can happen. It's an interesting idea. Yeah. John says, after hearing research on toilets and lids, it got me wondering if there are any research on bidets. Do you have thoughts on them with respect to virology and microbiology?
Okay, I don't want to know. Can I just say? You
don't
can
wanna know?
pry the bidet out of my cold, dead hand. I don't want to know.
So when I was very young, well, a bidet is open, so you can judge based on that. It's open, and you're going to wash your bits in a bidet, and there's going to be a lot of aerosolization. Plus, previous people. This is the thing that that gets me. There are bidets in many European hotels and many Asian hotels. There are bidets in Japan, but you're sharing all these microbes because I'm sure the cleaning doesn't get rid of them all. And so, in a way, it's worse than a toilet. It'd kind of be like putting your feet into toilet water, which, by the way, Steve Jobs was reported to have done at a conference once. But I think a bidet is even worse. And plus, there's a lot of aerosolization. I remember when I was a kid, went to Europe. I think I was 8 years old. And in this hotel, there was this bidet, which I'd never seen before. And it had a shower head in the middle of it, right? Which you're supposed to sit on and then spray yourself. But I just turned it on and it went shooting up to the ceiling, of course. But it just illustrates how you can make a big aerosol with a bidet. So,
well, if you sit on it, it's not going to go anywhere. The aerosol's not going anywhere.
Oh yeah, when you spray that water on you, it's making little droplets that are going all over the place.
Your business is covering up the toilet.
Well, I don't think it covers it up very well. But I'm concerned about other people who use the bidet. Now, if it's in your house and it's just you or your family, then probably it's not a big deal. But public bidets in hotels, I think they're just weird to do that.
Wouldn't you need some kind of like opening in your business that...
Well, Karen, we do have openings down there.
Oh.
But we're getting stuff from other people that's on the bidet. That's my point.
Right.
So someone comes in with a papillomavirus infection.
All right, I'm leaving now because you were trying to ruin the bidet for me, and it's where I draw the line.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, John wanted to know, and I'm just telling him. I'm telling him the story. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Colander. A colander for the eclipse. That's interesting. Study plasmid of Agrobacterium tumefaciens in a cancer study. There's similarity between it and human cancer. So, Agrobacterium tumefaciens is a tumor of plants. And we use it because we can use these cells to deliver DNA to plants. So, but there's, it's similar in the sense that it's uncontrolled cell division and proliferation making a tumor, but it's quite different because it's plant tissue, not right eukaryote, not mammalian tissue. Here's what Elizabeth said. Have people super chat their favorite color. But no, noir wins. Noir gets white. Anyway, the eclipse phase in the viral infection. Did anybody get that?
There's a response in there. Did you see that?
Well, there was one earlier that wasn't quite right. Is there another one? I guess people weren't too interested. Well, there are a lot of good questions here. Anyway, the eclipse phase is the part a virus infects the cell, and you don't detect any infectivity for some time before you see those first new virus particles made. So that's the eclipse, where the genome has come out of the particle. It's being made into mRNAs and proteins, and you're putting new virus particles together. That takes some time. So you don't see any new infectivity. So it's called the eclipse because, the infectivity has been eclipsed in the cell. Yep. Jeff says, Hong Kong reported the first case of monkey to human transmission of B virus through a bite. Has 80% mortality. Any chance of this virus mutating to become airborne? I thought that this had happened before, actually, because I know a young woman who worked in a primate center had a primate spit in her eye, and then she acquired B virus and died of that.
Wow.
It's quite lethal. It's one of the most lethal viruses, but it's not a human virus. It does not transmit between humans.
Is that what a human virus means, that it transmits between humans? So a avian virus is something that transmits between birds. Is that how you define that?
Yep.
When you call it a something virus?
Yeah, human virus transmits easily or readily among humans. Yeah. I don't see this mutating to become airborne. I don't know what the pressure is. There are very few human infections, and it would, to do that, it would have to already have come out of the non-human primate, I think, mutated and ready to go airborne. Because in one human, it's a dead end, so it's not going anywhere. If there are very few infections a year, which there are, I don't see that being a worry.
I'd like to help you with these comments, but I only have a very small chunk of comments, and it hasn't changed in a really long time.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Here's one from John who says, I keep finding gems in my journey through TWIP, like the free parasitism course on Parasites Without Border. That's also on YouTube. I shot those videos years ago. Dixon says some Leishmania also have a virus. Do you know which one? Leishmania virus. It's an RNA virus, which makes leishmaniasis worse because the viral RNA is sensed by our innate immune system and leads to more inflammation. Yep. Oh, dear. Okay. Ian says, thank you for your support of science communication, Ian. Appreciate it. How is nucleic acid sequence called wild type or variant when there are variants in all who have that virus? In the interview about Hep C, there are 30% differences. Well, yeah, in my opinion, if you get a virus from me and the same virus from Karen, they're variants because they're going to be different in sequence, most likely. And so, but that's not the official definition of a variant or a strain. Some people say a variant has certain properties and the same thing for strains, but I think that's true for strains. A strain is a virus with a new property of some kind. And a variant is simply a virus with a nucleotide change compared to another one. Now, strains, I once asked Jens Kuhn this, how do you determine a strain? He said, well, it would have to be approved by an international committee, and therefore it's not clear nor straightforward how it would work. But it has to have some property that can be measured in the laboratory. Now, genotypes can be determined simply by saying there's a percent difference in the genome sequence between two viruses, and therefore it's a new genotype or it's a new clade. We often do that on genome sequences, and it can differ from virus to virus. And so, yeah, for Hep C, there can be 30% differences, a lot of variation among those viruses. But it's still called hepatitis C virus, maybe genotype this or genotype that, right? All right. So a lot of eclipse stuff here. You guys can enjoy that. Well, here's one from Veronica. Speaking of cool astronomical events, the Pons-Brooks comet is visible these days. It's also called the Horn Devil comet. It may be visible during the eclipse. Best day to observe the 21st. Well, thank you. Oh, here we go. Tom got it. Eclipse after infection, but can't recover virus from infected cell because no new virions assembled. Yeah, perfect. And Brandon, period between viral entry and progeny virion formation. Nice. You guys got it. Okay. NPR reported today that bird flu has been found in eggs. What temperature kills a bird flu virus? Seriously, no eating raw cookie dough. Well, you're not supposed to eat it anyway because they're raw eggs, right?
What?
Salmonella.
What?
Can't eat raw eggs.
What are you talking about?
You're not supposed to eat raw eggs.
There's a whole ice cream flavor that is called cookie dough that has chunks of cookie dough in it.
All I know is you shouldn't eat raw eggs.
Oh, no.
But if you cook them, you inactivate viruses and bacteria.
I'm just going to start making a list of what you ruined for me in office hours.
Make a list. Make
cookie
it twice.
Dough, bidets. What else am I going to lose today, Vincent?
We'll see. Oh, this is very interesting. In general, Wondering World says if a farmer's chickens stop laying, it tends to result in death one way or the other. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, well, they can make a broiler out of them, right? And Andrew says cleave also means, where did he go? So sometimes when I click on a comment, it goes away. Where did it go? Cleave, here it is. Cleave, and now I lost them again. This is a defect in eCam. That you lose the comment. Here we go. Cleave also means to stick like peanut butter to the top of one's mouth. I didn't know that. The peanut butter is cleaving to my mouth. Wow. Virologists use those terms interchangeably more often than you'd think. Terms aren't always used properly, even by experts, unless you've written a textbook, in which case you have to get the right definition, right? Viruses are becoming stronger and more resourceful, and humans are becoming weaker. Is it possible because of a diet? Well, I would say viruses have always been the same, and humans, well, I don't know. But viruses, the problem is if you have more animals infected with a virus, then you have more viruses and more diversity, and that's the problem. The problem with humans is that we're getting older than we ever have before, and that makes us highly susceptible to infections. And so I don't know if it's that we're getting weaker. I see a lot of very healthy people around in the world all the time. I think it has to do with aging. John says, in a parking lot at the Mall of America, I stepped wide of a bunch of bird feces and a bird that seemed sluggish flying around. My friends laughed and asked what was wrong, and I said I was avoiding flu. Well, that's not a bad thing to do. You get it on the bottom of your shoe, and then you bring it into your house, and who knows, your cat could lick it up and get sick, right? I heard from someone who lived in China that the government ordered the killing of all birds at the time of one of the infections. They said even sparrows in the fields. Yes, for many of those outbreaks of avian flu in China, they cull. They cull certainly birds on farms. Wild birds harder, right? Because they fly away. So I don't know how you would do that.
And now we're going to avoid the cat story, right?
Where's the cat story?
It wasn't it cats. Never mind. If that didn't jog your memory into one of your stories, then I'm not going to encourage it.
Brian says, oh, thank you, Brian, for your contribution to support science communication. Really appreciate it. Are they testing pigs? Yes, pigs have been known to be infected with H5N1, so I'm sure the big pig farms test. But, most of those are indoors now, and they're highly biosecure. No more outdoor piggeries. It's a disaster. So But still, they do test, absolutely. Because a person could go in that is infected. Pandu says that crows are susceptible to H5N1. Yep. Does baloxavir work on bird flu? This is a good question. Let's Google it. Baloxavir and H5N1. I think it would be because it's a endonuclease inhibitor. It's highly conserved. So let's see. Yeah, it's similar inhibitory activity against H5N1. So yeah, that's the other one. Thank you. So we have Tamiflu and baloxavir. Baloxavir is very good. One dose, up to 5 days post-infection, it takes care of it. And so that is another one in our arsenal to protect. Can't it recombine with H1, H2, or H3? Yeah, it could. It hasn't yet, right? But that's one of the concerns, is that the more animals that you infect, the more chances for reassortment. Not just human influenza viruses, like you say, but there are many other avian influenza viruses that could contribute genes. And many of the human influenza viral genes are in animals of various sorts, from back infections. So yes, it could happen, right? It's not a dumb idea. We just haven't seen it in many years, so we're wondering if there's some problem in it becoming adapted to humans, right? Like SARS-CoV-2 probably has not been around for that long. It's not been around for 50 years in bats, I mean. So, if it were around in bats for 50 years and it never infected humans, you could always argue it never encountered a human. But, for these H5N1s in birds, they're encountering people all the time. So I don't think that's an argument. So let's see. Jonathan says, having no idea what it will do in humans and past performance of the virus in humans, a solid basis for relaxing. CFR may have been a reason for panic. Uncontrolled spread plus reassortment is bad. All right, you can panic, or you can calmly say, we have these antivirals, let's make mRNA vaccines and just do surveillance. Why should you panic? Why should people who are not scientists read these news outlet headlines saying panic over H5? Why? What's the point? Because then they'll start hoarding masks and toilet paper and who knows what else and getting scared. I don't see what the point of that is when we have no inclination that anything is going to happen. And the experts say they're not concerned about it. So that's my feeling.
And I think that boils down to like us wanting to know everything ourselves. There's a comment from B that's asking you at some point, can you tell us how to memorize and remember all the virology information? And my response is, you don't have to, because Vincent already did. Just check in here and ask him when you have questions. See?
So that's the right approach. You don't need to know everything.
Right.
Neither do I.
Right.
I know where to look for it when I need it. Right.
But I think as a society, we have, for some reason, lost this whole concept of expert. This person spent their life working on something, and therefore we defer to them when it comes to the things that they spent their life working on.
Yeah. But the thing is, you should know where to find the information. So COVID hits, people are like, where do I go to get information?
Microbe TV.
So then they come to us, and that's why our listenership explodes. This is the right place to come.
Right.
We're your virologists. And then we got a doctor in with us, Daniel Griffin, so you got everything covered.
And even if they don't know the answer, they will find out for you.
We can find it out for you. But, not enough people listen to us and know that we exist as a resource. So I don't know how to deal with that. John asks, should poultry workers wear protective eyewear, and do they? I think it's a good idea for any worker among animals where they have their own viruses. And, you're in a pig farm with, hundreds, thousands of pigs, and you're in there with them. Gosh, I'd want to wear something. But I don't know what the procedure is on a chicken farm, for example. It's a good question, John. Maybe someone knows who can weigh in. Maybe Angela Mingarelli would know. And here's the thing I'm saying about panic. Here's Melanie. Maybe we should all just buy hazmat suits with breathing apparatuses and live in them from now on. No, we don't want to do that, right? You want to enjoy the air, the sun, the natural world, the sounds. That's the point. Don't panic. Just find out what the experts say.
We could all as an expert, would you recommend me going and using as many bidets as possible so as to build up some sort of immunity?
No, I don't recommend that. No. I think now and then you could use one. And
while eating cookie dough?
what else are we going to do? Oh, yes. Oh, here's a good one from Laura. Oh, they're all good. I live on a lake with a great waterfowl population. Love hearing the geese coming in for the night. Last year, sick geese with head sideways, necks bent down at a strange angle, a few dead. They probably had avian flu. So what happens is migratory ducks or other water birds, they stop in ponds and water sources to rest and to fuel up to get water, and they leave their viruses behind. And then if there's a native population of birds, they get infected. So I was once in Vermont visiting. You came to Vermont, remember? Yes, you came.
I did.
And I met with no, actually, that was New Hampshire. Sorry.
I don't even know how you keep track of it as well as you do.
Those states tend to blur together. Mm-hmm. So New Hampshire, I met a microbiology, a veterinary microbiologist who said they often get calls from little mom and pop farms. You know, my chicken's sick and so forth. They got a call from a farm 100 miles north. Our chickens are behaving weird. They said, we'll be right there. They drove up. By the time they get there, the chickens are all dead. Oh. And what happened was some ducks had landed in the pond on the farm, and they left H5N1 there. And the chickens drink out of the pond water because they're a mom and pop farm, and they acquire it. So that happens all the time in these flyovers. Yeah. Mm. But it's sad, avian flu, for the animals, for the birds and the mammals who get it. Yes, the mass deaths of large numbers of migratory birds and marine mammals has been disturbing. So that's what I'm concerned about. You want all the dolphins in the world to die? No, they're great animals. Any other animal, you don't want them dying off. I don't think the worry is about us. Mm. You've talked about envelope viruses not surviving the GI tract. H5 can apparently survive. Well, the GI tract of birds is different from that of humans. But yes, some envelope viruses can survive. There are enveloped coronaviruses that are enteric pathogens. So there are some exceptions. But, for the most part, influenza viruses, SARS-CoV-2, and others, they just don't survive in the harsh conditions of the tract. Yep. Okay, we got the anti-vaxxer one. Oh, it's an interesting question. Do you know of any viruses or bacteria that evolved to use glycosylated antigens to induce T-cell tolerance to themselves, like in verse vaccine papers on the recent immune? That's really a good question. You would expect that to happen, right? As a great strategy, but I haven't seen it. Maybe we haven't looked for it or haven't found it, but it's a great idea. B says, is it possible that because of our weakness after corona, its transmission will become worse and cause more damage? I don't know what you're referring to corona or H5N1, but I don't think that applies. I mean, certainly there are a lot of people who have lingering long COVID right after COVID, but it's a small percentage of the population, so I don't think that affects the overall susceptibility to infectious diseases. When did Karen first become invisible? Is there a vaccine for that? She was on first last week, was it, or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Last week?
So, yeah, I responded to somebody here. We're working with this, voice of God thing that I get to do.
She didn't want to be on camera, and I thought she would just make comments and keep track of the
Well, and it's not that I don't want to be on camera. It's that there's little reason for me to be on camera when I'm just throwing in weird quips here and there as opposed to knowing anything. Vincent knows stuff. You have to see his face so you believe him.
I think the face helps a lot, really.
It does. It legitimizes you, especially with those glasses. I mean, now that I look at it, those are way better than the blue ones.
Oh, I missed a lot of questions here.
Yeah, there's a little chunk right in where you are, I think.
This thing keeps jumping up and down. I don't know why. This comment column.
Well, next time we'll try me managing it, and you'll just get whatever questions you get.
No, I don't want you to do that. I want to look at them all. Sick cows are routinely given antibiotics when sick, so the milk would not be used anyway due to possible antibiotics. Farmers are fined if their antibiotics are found in their milk. Well, that's useful. Thank you very much for telling us that. Will says, arguing with anti-vaxxers, no amount of evidence will ever persuade an idiot. Did smallpox vaccination prevent infection? No, it prevented disease. But the difference is every smallpox infection gives you disease. There are no asymptomatic infections. So you could tell every case of infection by just looking for the lesions. The more domestic animals that are vaccinated, the less virus spreading. Why are there no authorized vaccines for animals? I thought there were. H5N1 animal. I thought there were some. No human vaccines are available. Yes, we know that. What about animals? See. It's not currently feasible to immunize poultry against H5N1. It's not feasible to vaccinate wild birds, but naturally occurring infections may generate cross-protective immunity. But you can vaccinate poultry.
I mean, don't we generally spend more time working on vaccinations when it's something that directly affects us as opposed to more big picture?
Well, I think if all the birds are going to die, you would be worried about that, right?
Well, you would think, but do we? Do we worry?
Some people don't, right?
Right. Generally speaking, I think we've developed a habit of worrying when it directly affects us, not when it's about to.
Are we going to need a new measles vaccine because of human? No, measles doesn't change to evade the vaccine. We're not going to need one. What's the origin of the name measles? No, there was not a Dr. Measles. Measles is from a word meaning, it's from the 14th century Arabic word miser, meaning
little spot.
The unhappiness of lepers. In fact, measles was sometimes known as little leprosy. You know the medical name for measles? Rubeola. Right, there's rubella and rubeola. Rubeola is measles, yeah.
What is rubella?
It's another childhood rash disease.
But does it exist anymore?
Yeah, it does. In countries that don't vaccinate with MMR, yeah, it does exist.
I mean, I knew it was part of MMR, but I've
still
never
exists,
heard of
yeah.
anybody getting rubella.
Well, why don't you Google it? You can see.
I'm going to Google it now.
Questel, there are no timestamps on the comments. No, it's unfortunate, yeah. I know antibiotics don't work on flu, but when a farmer has a couple $1,000s invested in a cow, antibiotics are often used as cheap insurance. And Mandrake says, yeah, farmers need better education on diseases. Laura says, Creutzfeldt-Jakob prions are a slow-moving cause of Alzheimer's and pass to humans more often by certain breeds of sheep. It's mostly in Amish families. I haven't heard of them in deer, but wondered. No, wait a minute. Creutzfeldt-Jakob is a disease caused by prions, which is different from Alzheimer's, but it can go from so these diseases were originally found in sheep in Europe, and which they cause scrapie, which is a dementia of sheep and similar to Creutzfeldt-Jakob. And when the sheep were ground up and fed to cows, then the cows got bovine spongiform encephalopathy, and when those cows were eaten by humans, they got a modified Creutzfeldt-Jakob. Now, cervids, deer and elk are getting a chronic wasting disease, which is a form of a prion disease, a naturally occurring one, and it's spreading globally in deer populations, so it's a bit concerning.
Okay, so German measles, your rubella. Less than 10 people in the United States are reported of having it each year.
Yeah, what about outside the U.S.?
Well, my joke is, well, we are inside the U.S., therefore things outside the U.S. do not exist.
They don't exist.
Right. No, but just wait,
yeah.
because Right. Since 2012, all the cases had evidence that they were infected when they were living or traveling outside the U.S. So if we give it a few more years, we'll just have an outbreak, right? At the rate that we're going.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of
people stop getting vaccinated.
Parents are not vaccinating their kids with
Right.
MMR, but measles is coming through, but rubella is not. And measles may be more infectious, but that may also mean there's not a lot of rubella around. Too.
Right.
Yeah.
But not yet. But maybe eventually.
Maybe.
Right? We could become number one in vaccinatable diseases if we work at it.
Mandrake says, do you think it's time for an oral or IV polio antiviral? Well, people have been trying to do this for years, but we haven't got any so far. But there are some candidates out there, so you may see one at some point. Hello, James from Austin, Texas. Nice to see you. All right. Yeah, there's a prion disease sweeping through Michigan, chronic wasting disease. Perhaps prions are starting to build up in people that eat venison. So, yeah, the problem here is that you can't destroy the prion by cooking. No matter how much you like your meat cooked, it will still have prions in it. So it's a bit concerning. So far, we've not seen any transmission from deer to humans. It may be that the prions are concentrated in like spinal cord and brain, which is the case. And so if you stay away from those, you should be okay. But we're keeping an eye on that for sure.
All right. 110,000 babies born every year with rubella in Southeast Asia and Africa.
Okay.
Mostly.
Peter doesn't like our mug. Peter doesn't like this mug.
Oh.
Sorry, Peter. To each their own. You can get norovirus by walking into a bathroom. You need to put it in your mouth. But, yeah, you can get an aerosol.
Well, you could walk into the bathroom with your mouth open.
Yep.
While someone is flushing a toilet and then lean down, right?
You could.
Yep. Just don't.
Gangs in the air after flushing.
Let's just not do that.
Hello, Lise. Welcome. Coming in late, but cool. Better late than never. Auto bidets are the best luxury I've ever come across, together with its heated seat during winter. So the toilets that have the built-in bidet. Yeah. I think they're weird. I don't know. I think they're weird. The bidet functions through a spray, so you're not sitting on something that might be infected. Yeah, but they're still aerosols, so be careful. Let's see. We're going to have to wrap up soon here, but this is the one. Can you tell us how to memorize and remember? We talked about that, but you don't have to do that. Unfortunately, Jasper is saying things that are wrong, and I don't really want to.
Oh, but it's been pulled. Jasper's been pulled.
Good. Thank you very much.
And also, super fun that I can see that now that you've got me connected as one of the people with the wrench. I can see what people type that is literally just to instigate, and how genius your moderators are at pulling it off. But I can still read it for a chuckle. I quite enjoy it.
Okay. You got a wrench. Don't throw a wrench into the work. So Very Nika said, okay, look, if the entire world switches to bidets, all the world conflicts will stop and humans will finally be nice.
I do think,
that's great.
I think it makes you nicer.
Siddhartha, thank you for your contribution to science communication. This is great. All right. Any other questions here? Leo is late, but you caught the end. Yeah, we're just wrapping up, Leo, but welcome. In the UK, even pregnant women can eat raw eggs, but it has to have the Red Lion stamp on it, which means it's free of salmonella. We don't do that here in the U.S. That's very interesting.
How do they know it's free of salmonella?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a question for Twim, I think.
Interesting. I'll write that down.
Susie, hello, Susie, you're from the Netherlands. A well-known virologist, Maren Koopmans, is well-known as a compromised person. She fights with tooth and nail. Oh, no, I shouldn't have done that. That's an anti-vaxxer. She is a great scientist who's been on TWIV multiple times, and she is right to fight tooth and nail anyone who opposes the current vaccine paradigm. I know her. She is amazing, Susie. I'm sorry you're misinformed about her. And today, if you This is an amazing Tweevo live stream. We talked about how the humans lost their tail.
Mm-hmm.
Just go listen. It's cool.
It's
Now,
lovely.
this is interesting, Patricia. Humans don't get bird flu from ingestion. We inhale it. So it's different from in birds, okay? Yep. Oh, this is great. Is it true that if you wash an egg, it has to be put into the fridge? Someone said that on the stream previously, and so maybe it's true, but I haven't looked into it, right? I have to see the data.
We'll add that to the how do they know there's no salmonella in the UK question for.
Yeah. Hello, Mark. Nice to see you again. 3-hour time shift. Yeah, it's tough. Sorry about that. And we're reaching the end here. Get a notebook. I have a TWIV notebook. I take copious notes from podcasts. Also, take Vincent's free virology course. I bought the textbook, so you do that too if you can afford it. Patricia, these are great advices if you want to learn virology. I have a free course that's posted every year on YouTube. You should listen to podcasts, take notes. It's a little bit of effort. Yeah, but if you want to learn, that's what you have to do.
Oh, Vanity Nutrition just said the hens that lay the salmonella-free eggs have been vaccinated against salmonella.
All right. But so they don't check to make sure? They just assume?
They're vaccinated, therefore they're salmonella-free. Clearly, they trust their scientists in the UK.
Well, all right, I'm not going to... I'm going to look into it. That's
it's
a
too
twin,
close to the end. It's too
that's
close to
actually
the
a
end.
twin
Yeah,
topic. I like that
I've
very
got it.
much.
I've got it. I wrote it down.
Off topic. A friend had surgery, developed pseudo-man's A infection. Remind me, has this developed immunity to many of antibiotics? Pseudomonas infection. No, you can still combat Pseudomonas with antibiotics. That should not be an issue. Yeah, Pseudomonas. Pseudo. MONAS. Yep.
I think you should. I think you should tell them that their greatest wishes have come true with next week's office hours.
I will. Just let me do a few more.
Okay.
Remind me again. No authorized veterinary vaccine in the U.S. against H5N1 because inactivated virus vaccines are a trade problem. Okay, thank you. I'm going to look into this. I thought there was something, but I trust you because you're working for GSD Bio. How relevant is the non-chimpanzee, non-human primate model for polio pathogenesis? Pretty irrelevant. It's not worth using, in my opinion. Yeah, rubella is bad for pregnant people. Yes, you have you can. So, rubella was found because a lot of kids were being born blind, and it turned out that their mothers had rubella during pregnancy, and that causes infection of the fetus and congenital birth defects. And the vaccination has wiped out all of that. It's really good.
Oh, yeah, because, okay, so this is just said, who said it? Oh, Mark Lamont just wrote 209 watching, only 145 thumbs up. So I gave it a thumbs up. If you're out there right now and you're still listening, because there's 203 watching and you haven't given this episode a thumbs up, go ahead and do that because Vincent is actually really affected by numbers. Makes him happy down the road. I'll go, but did you see that many thumbs up?
We have 157. Am I affected by numbers?
Yeah, you told me that. Did you not tell me that?
I probably did.
Yeah.
So Angry Penguin says washing removes a protective covering that keeps out bacteria of eggs. Eggs in the UK are not washed and therefore are not refrigerated. That's cool. Thank you, Vanity, for the egg article. That's something I might mention briefly on TWIM. All right. That's the end here. I do want to say that you folks asked for Alan Dove. I asked if he could come on this week, and he couldn't, but he will be here next week. So get your questions ready for Alan. That is next Wednesday, which happens to be April 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll have Alan Dove. You can ask him about his career as a science writer. You can ask him about flying small airplanes and whatever else you'd like to do.
And I'll try to have some pictures of Vincent witnessing the eclipse for you. And
Probably not going to happen.
come on, you can let me dream.
But we have 200 people here. That's cool. I like that number.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good number, and we
Mhm.
appreciate. Thanks everyone for coming. Really appreciate it. I want to thank our moderators for tonight. We had Vanity Nutrition, we had Les, we had Tom Steinberg, we had Andrew, we had Steph, SF. I think I got everyone. Yeah. Karen Resistance is a moderator too.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm not doing the moderator dirty work. I
You
just
just-
get to look at the things that your moderators like do such a good job with.
Frank was here. I hadn't seen Frank earlier. Thank you for coming, Frank, as well. Appreciate your time spent here at all of these live streams, and I thank everyone for coming. So we'll be back in a week, folks. Thanks for coming. I want you all to stay safe. Until next week, good night, and thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.